Hi, my name is Hannah, and it's a huge honour to be asked to speak. Jade is one of my dearest friends, and we've known each other through many years in some of life's more challenging journeys. I first met Jade in a grotty hut, 1,500 metres above sea level. The hut was full of unwashed, bearded, polypropylene-clad men, rowdy and full of bravado. Perched on a couch, there is Jade, a stunningly beautiful woman, holding her own amidst the madness. I was there to get back up in the snow and have a break from my two wee babies and hang out with my favourite climbing buddy of the time. Jade was young, free of encumbrances, a career woman looking to find her niche, smart as a whip, and keen to learn the ways of the mountain. We immediately hit it off and have been friends on and off the mountain ever since. I remember a trip back up the same mountain shortly thereafter, guiding a group of 20 newbies to the summit. We were hit by a whiteout, and in a whiteout, as in life, knowing magnetic north will get you home. A year or so later, when Jade started mentioning this handsome local who seemed such a steady, caring and reliable soul, I realised that she had found her magnetic north in life. I think a little bit before she realised this. One trip soon after, we were climbing Mount Ngauruhoe. We were all sitting down for lunch at the summit, except for Jade. Being curious and about being on top of an active volcano, she went venturing off, having an explore, only to find herself stuck. She had moved out onto what looked like more snow, but the heat of the volcano underneath had melted it to just a thin crust. Everywhere she turned, it seemed her foot started falling through. From the edge, though, where I was seated, we could see a path of snow bridges that led back towards safe ground. Me, as the next lightest in our team, ventured out to find the safe path so that Jade could follow my footsteps. Sometimes I think life is like that. We head out into the world only to find ourselves with nowhere left to go and quite stuck. And all we need is a friend to come and show us the way through. Jade has been that friend to me for many years. And whilst Chris has yet to don any crampons, I know that my climbing buddy is in safe hands with Chris, there to help get her through, as she will for him. Climbing is very much a team sport, and relying on each other in extreme situations is essential. When one partner peels off the mountain without a bomber anchor, the other is coming off too. As a team, you're stronger if you each have different strengths. And Jade is a far superior climber on technical rock pitches than I am. In fact, Jade is such a great rock climber. I recall one male climbing partner who was so determined to beat her up the tricky stuff that he tried and failed for months. Eventually, he just stopped coming to the climbing gym because it was quite clear he was never going to catch our incredible Jade. But Jade and Chris are the perfect climbing partners for life and on the journey ahead, able to celebrate each other's strengths. Communication in climbing is key, as many hours are spent literally tied together, but often 30 metres apart and often in inclement conditions where crisp, clear communication is key. We sometimes reduce our communications to just key phrases such as "on belay," which literally means "I have your rope. If you fall, I will catch you." And the other is "safe," which means you can focus on your own climb now. I can't fall from here. This taking each other turns at holding each other from falling and being in a safe, strong position is how we both get up and down the mountain. Jade has been this person for me, on and off the hill. For girls like us, being at home with a huge pile of baby laundry and freshly made puree food can be a bit of a tricky adjustment from the career world. And I remember with my young babies many nights when my glamorous friend would trek over the Rimutakas with a bottle of wine to have a girls' night in when I simply couldn't get out. And it makes me realise that being on belay takes many forms in a partnership. Jade, as well as being a better rock climber, is also a better communicator, and I smile every time I remember Jade taking on my boyfriend at the time, communicating very clearly that he was not cutting the mustard and needed to pull his socks up. What a girl. Perhaps one of our most oft recalled climbing stories is the time that we did not actually climb together. I was set on climbing Mount Taranaki, and after too many failed attempts, I had become a little determined. As some of you all know, as well as being tremendously gorgeous, clever, and an incredible mum, Jade also has a slightly terrifying knowledge of communicable diseases. Her ability to think through all the ins and outs of managing just such a scenario might just be what keeps you alive one day, and perhaps I should have considered this more fully. Anyway, on this particular climb, Jade used her risk-benefit analysis and decided that the weather window we had was just simply not enough margin for error. I decided to go anyway. About 3 hours into the climb, the wind was blowing so hard, a chunk of ice blew off the ridge, crashed into the bail on my crampon, and smashed the joint between my toe and foot. Literally. But without Jade there to call it off and say, no, this is enough, we need to turn back, we continued. Around about 8 hours in, the storm arrived 20 hours ahead of schedule. The mountain whited out we were just below the summit when the mountain whited out and the ice went bulletproof, which is to say it's so hard you cannot get your crampons any purchase. I was already hobbling up the mountain, unable to stick one foot in. Trying to smash a crampon into bulletproof ice did not prove very successful. Inevitably, I peeled off the mountain and went skittering off the side of the hill. The ice was so hard I couldn't get my ice axe in. Tink, 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 I went down the mountain. Long story. Ended up walking in circles around the hut until eventually found it and got inside. My foot was quite clearly broken once I took off my boot and was stuck in the hut for a few days while I waited for search and rescue to bring me some pain medicine, water or food. While I sat there on day 3 in the minus 13-degree temperature, the news was on with a story about me stuck up the mountain. And I remember thinking of Jade sitting at home with her warm cup of coffee, reading the news, and thought perhaps next time I really ought to listen to Jade's advice a little more carefully. So just food for thought there, Chris. But in all seriousness, there really is a reason climbers don't just walk around in fields on sunny days. It's the interesting bits of terrain, as in life, that make it worth doing. And we refer to tricky terrain by a variety of markers, but one such measure is committing. Such terrain means that it's often all or nothing. From this point on, you must climb to the top to get off. Jade, I think it's safe to say, is interesting terrain. I have observed the young intrepid climber, full of his own bravado, approach this blonde bombshell, unaware that the terrain is much steeper than he might have thought. One of the preferred mating dances of the male climber is the chair traverse. Here the young well-muscled buck will invariably remove his shirt so it doesn't get stuck, and begin in a seated position. Splaying his legs and rotating his head underneath the seat, he will then use his core and arm strength to suspend his body off the chair while he slithers under, pulls himself up the back of the chair and returns to the seated position. And then check towards our glamorous bride to see if this has won her attentions. Thinking he might then be in with a chance, he will approach the conversation stage of the mating dance of the climber. Here, he invariably strikes out, because Jade is not just beautiful, but she's terrifyingly smart and expert in terrifying diseases, a firefighter, a clever lady, a career woman, a travel explorer, etc., etc. Most blokes just walk away quite quickly, realising they're well out of their depth a few breaths in, but not our Chris. One of the first skills any budding climber learns is the importance of building a solid anchor. The anchor is not only the thing that keeps you down, but also the thing that helps you rise safely. To do this, a climber needs 3 pieces of gear to place into the wall, and any combination of bolts, nuts, screws, cams and pitons can be used. You then equalise the 3 so they're all harmoniously weighted and united, and the climber secures himself and their partner to this. So it's no surprise, I'm sure, to any of you that when you visit Jade's home, she has used her amazing climbing skills to have combined the unique personalities of Izzy, Charlie and Chris, as well as herself, to have built a beautiful home in which each of them can be different but flourish. Chris, as well as being Jade's true north, is a bold explorer willing to take on complex terrain. His chariot traverse has yet to be witnessed. Chris has been the perfect life partner for my incredible friend. Since you've arrived on Jade's team, I know that you're always there when she needs you. You allow her to continue to be her incredible and slightly terrifyingly talented woman that she is, and indeed stand aside and cheer her on. But in order to be truly part of the climbing team, there are a couple of small details to be taken care of. But first, Jade, here's a small gift. So I have a couple of small gifts for you in your marital journey. Firstly, to you, Jade. As you know, to ensure your safety and security on the mountain, a climber takes time to prepare for the journey. Crampons and ice axes must be inspected and sharpened. The tool a climber uses for this is a bastard file. For you, Jade, I have a bastard file, just in case you find any rough edges that need smoothing off. Learning to tie knots, Chris, for learning to tie knots and knowing which knot to tie and when is key to safety on the mountain. So as you two metaphorically tie the knot, I have a small gift to help you with your induction into the team. Reading from the back. Here lies, this DVD was prepared by Edmund Friegel, who's mastered classic seamanship. Here lies 3 hours of instruction presented by Friegel. Using his expertise, you'll learn not only the best knotting and splicing techniques, but also information on coiling, belaying and whipping. Tying knots is a hands-on, step-by-step instruction with clear guide. Use it alone or in conjunction for best results. Finally, one last formality. Climbers are a close-knit community. Becoming inducted as a honorary member requires a little bit of audience participation. So if you could all please help me with this last induction formality, you could raise your left hand and rotate it inwards, and now your right. Clap them together 3 times whilst barking like a seal. Arr, arr, arr. Chris, you officially have our seal of approval. So here's to you, Chris. You're on belay.